Good evening. I'm Landon with Merman Press. Today, I want to get a little serious. I know I've been gone for a little while. I've been super busy, just working, doing things with the family. I am working on a Patreon. Okay, discussed it with some people who I care about, and I think I'm just going to throw it up. We'll discuss how it's going to work later, but it is in the works. Okay, but today I want to talk about male role models and why it's so important for young men to have a strong male in their life. Just a little bit of background on me. I grew up with my father. I was very lucky. He's a good father. He loves me. I love him. One thing that I think was unique about our relationship when I was coming up was when I came around, I think he was ready for a child that was much more mature than what a child would have been. I was an only child, and what caused this experience between us is he would have to take me to work, he'd have to take me to meet people, and I was always included in the conversation. I was treated like an adult from a very young age. You know, if I said something stupid, yeah, I would be, hey man, not cool. But I was always included, and I was always a part of whatever was going on, no matter what age. You name an age, that's how it was. And I think that gave me a special gift of gab, just being able to talk with anyone, because I've been doing it probably longer than most people have. I don't care if you're in sales or whatever. I can always sit down with somebody and try to find some common ground and get to a solution, especially if there's a problem. I don't think this is a small batch of society has this skill. I just think the people who are in it are good at it, and the people who are adept at it haven't had the practice. So through my entire life, I had a very strong male role model right next to me, coaching me. I also had uncles, my grandfather. There were people in my life who were male and had different aspects and attributes that I could pull from and put into my toolbox. And I didn't realize how lucky I was until I turned 20 years old and joined the Marine Corps. It's a melting pot, a cross-section of America that joins the military. So, you're with young men who never knew their father. You're with young men who knew their father and hated him. There were young men who knew who their father was but didn't know anything about them. There were young men who had seen their father go to prison, had seen their father die, or were raised by their grandmother and there were no males around. They were the man of the house, no matter what age they were. And they had to learn this wild amalgamation of survival techniques that they had to pretty much make themselves. It'd be like me sending you into a forest where the person who, the subject who would have had a father, I give an axe and a saw, and the person who didn't, I give them a sharp rock and a ball of twine. They might get to the same place, but one of them is going to get there faster than the other. And the one who has the rock is going to have to learn a lot that the other does not have to know. And through the nature of where I live and things that I do, just had some experiences lately that have just made me thankful for my dad. And it made me start thinking about parts of what I learned in the Marines on how to deal with different people. For instance, I don't care who you are, if you're in the military, there was someone you looked up to. And it wasn't senior leadership. It was somebody who was close to you in age, close to you in station, and that person is who you drew a lot off of because they showed you something that you lacked or showed you something that you liked. Unfortunately for me, a couple of those people for me are now passed on, or else I'd call them and get some pointers. But some of them are not, and I talk to them regularly. So when you're that young and you come from a background of having a father, those people who you pick, you see other male role models in them. You see that they have a strong background in something. And what ends up happening is those young men who do not have a male role model in their life, they almost physically attach themselves to those people because they realize early on, they go, wow, they can feel the aura from that person, and they draw a lot of their essence into themselves, and they end up acting a lot like that person, which isn't exactly what you think about when you join the Marines or the Army or whatever. Being a corporal myself, being an E4, I didn't know the impact I was having on people until I picked up corporal. It wasn't, I was influencing people as a, as just a regular enlisted. And then when I became a non-commissioned officer, I saw that people listened to me, they spoke differently to me, they approached me with problems, and there were things that I probably wasn't ready for, to be honest. But because I had a background with strong male role models around, I knew the advice to give. I knew that if I didn't know, I'd show them that, hey, it's okay to be humble and it's okay to be wrong. There were just a big bowl of attributes that I got to pour out onto the table that I had picked up over 20 years at that time to be able to dish them out and show people how to work out problems. Some of these young men grew up with nothing. They left with something, I hope. I hope I could throw a tool in their toolbox, something they can rely on later in life, because when you have a young man who doesn't have a father or an unstable home even, there is a fork in the road at some point. All young men have this within them. It's a beast within us that you need male role model plus love, or you need sports plus anything to grab your attention, because those things you can dive your emotions into often have coaches. They often have men around them that someone you can draw from, someone you can feed from. A lot of coaches in my time were just added to my repertoire and my arsenal of men to draw from. But looking back in time, for me, I could see those men around me who greatly benefited from having a coach. It didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if they were good or bad. It was a coach. Someone to tell them when they were wrong. Someone to tell them what to do, even if it was just for a sport. Someone to guide some discipline, just wiggle some discipline into their life. And I promise you, those young men, they might have had a bumpy start when they became a man, when they became an adult, but they end up getting back on course and smoothing out the road themselves, versus the young men who didn't, right? The young men who didn't do sports and didn't grow up with a dad or anything like that. They went down this road that got bumpier and bumpier and bumpier to a point where if they're at the bottom of the mountain and they look up, they just decide it's way easier to stay here and learn how to survive. That is what we're missing. For all my hard chargers who stay through these videos and watch all the way till the end, I challenge you. Find those young men in your life, and you don't have to preach, you don't have to coach, you just have to be there, and you have to be strong, and you have to show them how a strong man prevails over problems. Because they are always going to be looking up to you. There is always someone looking up to you. There is always someone watching after everything you do. There is always someone who is paying attention to how you react. It is important that you stay strong for those people. Be a good role model. I have a video that I talk about the best job I ever had on Instagram. It's about just me being a corporal. It's the best job I ever had. I loved being a corporal because I knew the influence I had on some young men. Okay, one in particular who I'm very proud of. He is my hero. Okay, and I hope that one day some of you feel love that you never got when you were a child. And I hope you understand that one day someone's going to come ask you a question and you're going to know they've been watching you. When they come and ask you how to tie a tie, when they come to ask you how to shave, when they come to ask you how do you drive a stick shift, or how do I ask a girl out, or how do I do my taxes, or how do I be a man, or how do I say I love you. Those people are going to come into your life someday. And guess what? When it is least expected, you are elected. Stay strong, gentlemen. Ladies, guide your young ladies as well. This all pertains to the same. They need strong role models. We can't have this crap anymore. It's not going to fly, especially with me. So keep it clean. Find out what's killing you, kick its ass, and if you need to help someone else with their demons, do so. Hug your families. Stay safe.